Now, straight after Kent Tonight, we have a brand new episode of Kent Film Club where we look at the impact certain films have had on our guests' lives. Well, to give us an idea of what's to come and some of the latest film news and what's coming out that we need to be watching, the show's presenter, Chris Deacy, joins me now. Now, we've got a great one on the screen here, Inside Out 2. I've seen the first one. Yet to see the second one. Will you be watching it tomorrow?
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow, so I suspect at least one of my children might want to see this on the weekend. I think that's the thing about children's films, because I saw I saw it twice with different children. One wanted to see it, and of course the other then wanted to see it on the basis of the themes. In that case, it's actually a really good way of dealing with issues around grief and loss and death, but tailored towards a young audience. But there's also something in there for the parents, for the grown-ups, who actually can, particularly in an age of, before social media, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s before we had Facebook, before we had WhatsApp. And so films that sort of deal with that lost innocence, that sense of there may be once, we always talk in films about the golden age that may or may not have been. And of course, that's very big as a nostalgia trope. But that sort of notion of imaginary friends links very much with Toy Story as well. That sense about what have we lost? And in some of these films, of course, they anthropomorphisize, that's the word, toys and non-human characters, give them human expression. And of course that really resonates with the young audience.
And it's wonderful for the educational purpose as well, because a young person will watch this film and think, and will love the characters, will be drawn to, you sort of see these big eyes, the animations, these are all huge key tick boxes, the colours, but also connecting colours to emotion as well. I suppose it's a way of helping to process. And there's always that sort of drip-fed throughout films, that adult humour as well, to keep the parents sort of entertained behind the scenes as well. And you mentioned Toy Story. When we watch it growing up, we have a certain view, we think, oh, our toys come to life, but really that's resonating somewhere in the back of our minds that I suppose we can look back on with nostalgia, something you look at all the time when we're older and realise actually that's what that film was telling me.
Absolutely, because we all have that there's something from the past that at one point was really precious to us, and then we grow up, or think that we grow up. And then of course those films are very good at presenting it from the point of view of those toys themselves, because that sense of loss is something that we all feel in different ways. And of course it's about empathy, because obviously in those films those toys come to life, but there's something that we can all relate to in that. We've all had people that at one point meant something to us. In fact, actually I saw a film that was made in Herne Bay, and I saw it in Herne Bay on Tuesday, Tell That to the Winter Sea, which, although not a children's film, is about some school friends from 15 years ago who are now in their very early 30s, and they're looking back on the relationships that they did or didn't have. It's told from the point of view of a same-sex couple, but one of them is now marrying somebody from who's heterosexual, and it raises all these questions about the past that we thought we knew and the people we thought we knew, and what happens when we grow up. But we often grow up at different times. So actually the link with Toy Story is actually quite acute there, that we often grow up in different ways, and we diverge from one another as much as we grow together at different stages. But maybe there is that sense of a possible return.
And another prong to this conversation, I suppose, is those films that present ideals and beauty standards. And we had this sort of conversation when we're talking about Barbie, when that was such a huge thing. But I mean, some of those Disney films that present these princess characters that all young people can aspire to and want to be like, but it's how achievable that is, and sort of putting people on a pedestal. And it sounds so silly when we talk about it, but innocently watching this, we take sometimes a different message from that, and perhaps can feel like we're comparing ourselves to these princess characters as well as appreciating them.
Well, that's why the Barbie film, which of course we talked about a great deal last summer, was so powerful, because you had the different gradations of Barbie, the weird Barbie, for example, as well as the more archetypal feminine Barbie. And I think I know people who resonated with different parts of that, men as well. We had a male guest on the Kent Film Club who thought it was one of the best films he'd ever seen. So that's why. So it actually transcends issues of gender.
Amazing, Chris. Very, very quickly, what's coming up this evening? So
we have a wonderful episode of Kent Film Club tonight, and you'll have to wait till 6 o'clock to see what that is. But we have Catherine Shannon, I'll just say that much, who's a local filmmaker, very powerful with the BBC and BFI, and one of the films is Seven. There's quite a dark undercurrent, but also she worked with Anthony Minghella, and one of her films is The English Patient. Wow,
I don't know how you keep it all up there, Chris, with all the films you watch. Thank you very much. That's all we've got time for Kent Tonight. Handing over to Chris now. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.